So, ladies and gentlemen, the ripples of the turmoil in the Middle East, the conflict in Gaza in particular, but also tensions with Iran, has had a tangible negative effect in my country, Sweden. Not that it wasn't felt before, it was. But the reason for this is, of course, mass immigration from Islamic countries to Sweden. This has profoundly affected our Jewish and Christian communities and is a direct assault on Swedish values of tolerance and secularism. What we're witnessing is a cultural shift driven by unprecedented migration, aggressive pro-Palestine demonstrations laced with anti-Semitism, and believe it or not, publicly funded media criticizing government ministers showing solidarity with the Jewish community by wearing symbols like the Star of David. The scale of migration is staggering. This is the root cause. Between 2010 and 2020, in just 10 years, over 300,000 migrants from Islamic countries arrived due to liberal asylum and family reunification policies. Sweden, with just over 10 million people, has seen its Muslim population soar from 2% in the early 2000s to 8 to 10%, or about 800,000 to 1 million, many from countries such as Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. Countries that perhaps are not famous for their tolerance. Projections suggest this could reach 31% by 2050 if nothing is done. This is a demographic tidal wave. It means that in cities like Malmö, where Muslims make up 25 to 30% of the population, neighborhoods have transformed into enclaves where Sharia-like norms prevail. For Jews and Christians, this means navigating a society where their faith symbols and practices are increasingly met with outright hostility with the potential of violence. The cultural change is dramatic. Sweden used to be a bastion of religious freedom, but is now grappling with imported ideologies clashing with our traditions. Christian churches face vandalism. Converts from Islam to Christianity endure threats from within immigrant communities. And Jews, numbering only about 20,000, suffer most, with a dramatic increase in the number of anti-Semitic incidents. The intelligence services have reported that Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, sent agents to murder Swedish Jews. And today we woke up to the news that the alleged murderer of Salvan Momika is hiding in Iran. So no one is really surprised about it, but now we have it on paper. And the mullahs have been funding criminal gangs to commit terrorist acts such as shootings and throwing hand grenades at the Israeli embassy, and they have been looking for people to use drones for the same purpose. The Middle East conflict amplifies this. Hamas sympathizers and Islamist radicals among immigrants bring their Jew hatred to Sweden. In Malmö, Jews are advised not to wear a kippah nor the Star of David publicly for safety. The Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood, is working to erode our cultural fabric, stopping integration and building parallel societies, what in France is called Islamist separatism. All with public funding, ladies and gentlemen. Radical Islam is challenging Sweden's traditional equality and freedom in a never-increasing number of areas with our own taxpayer money. That must stop. Pro-Palestine demonstrations surging, as you know, since October 2023. I mean, they started already before Israel had responded to the terror attack. These demonstrations are hotbeds of anti-Semitism. We regularly see the flags of Hamas and Hezbollah in the demonstrations and hear anti-Semitic chants and speeches. We all know about the chant Khaybar. We hear it in the streets of Sweden. The police do nothing. Not even when the demonstrations take place right outside the entrance of Parliament and don't have a permit. In Malmö during Eurovision 2024, thousands protested Israel's participation, chanting anti-Semitic chants. In Gothenburg and Stockholm, crowds gathered weekly and sometimes daily to shout violent anti-Semitic slogans. Malmö saw protesters burn Israeli flags outside synagogues and chant, "Bomb Israel." But this was not the first time. In Malmö already in 2010, the Social Democratic mayor said this: "I think it would be good if the Jewish community distances itself from Israel's violation against the civilian population in Gaza." End quote. So, by linking the actions of Malmö's Jewish community to Israel's policies in this matter, what Reepalu, the mayor, did was to fuel anti-Semitic sentiments against an already vulnerable group. Was it a slip-up? Maybe. No, it was not a bug. It was a feature. In 2017, the mayor at the time from the very same Social Democratic Party inaugurated the new mega mosque in Malmö financed by, anyone pick a guess?
Qatar.
Yes, Qatar. So here we see this, what the French called Islamo-gauchisme, the unholy, most unholy alliance between leftism and Islamism, a very dangerous alliance. These events, often organized, that we see in Sweden, often organized by immigrant groups with Islamist ties, they weaponize Holocaust symbols, equating Israelis with Nazis. And Jews feel besieged. Many hide their identity, and an increasing number emigrate, make the aliyah. Christians face indirect pressure. Churches are vandalized, missionaries targeted, as anti-Western sentiments from the Middle East fuel intolerance. The demonstrators increasingly are displaying anti-social dominance behavior. For example, when a large group of pro-Palestine, dare I say pro-Hamas demonstrators, followed a government minister leaving parliament shouting that he had blood on his hands. One of my party colleagues in the Swedish parliament, the former MEP Jessica Stegrud, was violently confronted by several demonstrators right outside the entrance of parliament, with one foaming at the mouth, screaming insults in her face. The media's role is insidious. When two government ministers decided to wear Jewish symbols in solidarity with the Jewish minority in Sweden, the public broadcaster framed it as insensitive amid the situation in Gaza. This normalizes anti-Semitism. For Christians, coverage downplays attacks on their communities, prioritizing multicultural harmony. In conclusion, the mindset and conflicts of the Middle East have come to Sweden because of unchecked immigration. Jews and Christians face harassment, cultural erasure, and fear. So what should we do? Well, we must act. We must tighten borders. We must combat radicalism, deport the bad apples, and reaffirm our values. Our future depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.